There's no such thing as a sure thing in sports. Just ask the teams that paid the top 10 most overpaid NBA players of all time. These guys were either highly touted draft picks or veterans who signed lucrative contracts only to drop the ball. Want to know who's the most overpaid player in NBA history? Stay tuned to find out. First up is Jan Mahinmi. At 6'11", 250 pounds, Jan Mahinmi had the potential to be a force at the center position. While the French player would never capture greatness, he captured millions of dollars with the Washington Wizards. How overpaid was the big man? Jan Mahinmi had his best year in the NBA in the 2016 to 2017 season. He averaged 9.3 points and 7.1 rebounds per game, both career highs. He shot a career best 58.5% from the floor and also made a career high 66.7% of his free throws. Mahinmi's strong play helped the Pacers make the playoffs for the first time since 2013. Off that solid season, Mahinmi signed a 4-year, $64 million deal with the Washington Wizards in 2016. He was grossly overpaid. Injuries limited him to just 26 games in his first season with Washington, and he retired after his contract ended. That's a tough one for the Wizards. 10 points from Gryffindor. Our next pick is Darius Miles. Darius Miles was a talented player at the University of Missouri. Miles was known as a high-energy player who could score and rebound. Miles was good enough to be drafted 3rd overall in the 2000 NBA draft by the Los Angeles Clippers, but only played for 4 seasons with the team before signing a 6-year, $48 million contract with the Portland Trail Blazers. Miles never lived up to his potential and averaged over 10 points per game only once in his career. In 2008, he was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers and then signed with the Memphis Grizzlies in 2009. He was released by Memphis in 2010 and retired from basketball after blowing through his $64 million fortune. Unfortunately, no team was able to get the miles out of Darius. Moving on to Todd McCullough. Todd McCullough was a 7-foot center who was drafted in the 2nd round of the 1997 NBA draft by the Philadelphia 76ers. He only played 4 seasons in the NBA, averaging 3.9 points and 3.2 rebounds per game. McCullough is most famous for signing a 7-year, $42 million contract with the New Jersey Nets in 2000. He played just 1 season with New Jersey before retiring in 2001 due to an ankle injury. Todd McCullough made more money in 1 year than most of us will make in our entire lives. Good for him, bad for the Nets. Fun fact, after retiring from basketball, Todd went on to have a successful pinball career. What would you do if you retired with an ankle injury and millions of dollars? Next up is Bismack Biyombo. Bismack Biyombo was drafted with the 7th overall pick in the 2011 NBA draft by the Toronto Raptors. He played 4 seasons with the Raptors before signing a bewildering 4-year, $72 million contract with the Orlando Magic in 2016. Biyombo only averaged 6 and 6 rebounds per game in Florida, while playing about 20 minutes per night. Biyombo was traded to the Charlotte Hornets in 2017 for a more modest contract. After becoming a free agent, he was signed to the Phoenix Suns, where he's been putting in some impressive performances. Unfortunately for the Magic, Bismack didn't blossom until after he left Orlando. Biyombo started the Bismack Biyombo Foundation in 2016. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the foundation donated around $1 million worth of medical supplies to the Congo. Now for the unfortunate tale of Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons was an impressive player when he played in Houston and Dallas, putting up double-digit stats as a starter under those banners. That's why the Memphis Grizzlies decided to sign him to a $94 million 4-year contract in 2016. Unfortunately, his hype train soon got derailed. The Grizzlies had Parsons on light duty as he was recovering from a knee injury, missing the preseason and the first 6 games of the season. However, Parsons never recovered his momentum. In his debut as a starter, he missed 100% of his free throw attempts and played only 34 games that season. Plagued by knee injuries and inconsistent performances, Parsons never regained his early momentum. He was traded to the Atlanta Hawks after just 3 years and was forced to retire in 2020 after a car accident. We're halfway through our list. Do you agree with our breakdown so far? Keep watching until the end for the most overpaid player in NBA history. The next letdown comes from John Koncak, the 7-foot center from Southern Methodist University, SMU. Koncak was selected with the 5th pick in the 1985 NBA draft by the Atlanta Hawks. Koncak spent 10 seasons with the Hawks in a reserve role. John Koncak signed a 6-year, $13.2 million deal with the Atlanta Hawks in 1989 when the team decided to match an offer from Detroit. The contract was unprecedented for a reserve player at the time. While Koncak was an average player at best, he was given an extremely lucrative contract thanks to bidding wars between teams during free agency. It's not Koncak's fault that he benefited from the bidding wars, but his contract was considered so outrageous that it earned him the nickname John Contract. Hey, it beats being underpaid. Moving on to Evan Turner. Evan Turner was a highly touted prospect coming out of Ohio State, and the Philadelphia 76ers took a chance on him in the 2010 NBA draft. Turner showed promise in his first few seasons before signing a 4-year, $70 million contract with the Indiana Pacers. Unfortunately, Turner couldn't keep pace with that contract. He was rarely a starter and scored an average 8 points per game. The contract made Turner the 4th highest paid player in the NBA at the time, and he never came close to being the 4th best player. That's one contract the Pacers should have turned down. Evan Turner recently started a podcast with his former 76ers teammate, Andre Iguodala. The podcast is titled Point Forward. Moving forward, we move on to our number 3 pick, Danny Ferry. Danny Ferry had potential coming out of Duke, where he was an All-American, but his NBA career was largely disappointing. He was drafted by the Clippers in '89, but in a strange twist, decided to play in Italy instead of the NBA. Ferry put up impressive numbers in Italy, averaging 23 points and 6 rebounds per game. The Clippers traded the rights to Ferry to Cleveland in 1990, where he managed to pen a massive 10-year, $34 million contract. Cleveland was hoping that Ferry would bring his overseas numbers to the NBA, but that dream never came true. Ferry's best season in Cleveland came in 95-96, where he averaged 13.3 points per game, but for the most part, he was just above average. While he was a good player, Ferry was never the superstar that Cleveland hoped he would be. Danny retired from playing in 2003 with his fortune from Cleveland and a championship with the Spurs. Our second to last pick is Sagana Joe. Joe played college basketball at Baylor University and Louisiana State University. He was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks in the second round of the 2004 NBA draft. Overpaid doesn't begin to describe the 6-year, $32 million contract Sagana Joe signed with the Bobcats in 2009. He lasted less than 1 season with the team. He spent the rest of his career with the Bobcats, where he largely underperformed. Jope dropped a career-high 10 points in a 97-84 loss to the New Orleans Hornets. He played his last game on March 4th, 2013, where he scored 2 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 foul in almost 20 minutes of play. He was a big man with a big contract, who never lived up to his potential. When it came down to his performance, the 7-foot-tall man came up short. Jope retired from the NBA at 31 years old with millions in undeserved earnings. And now for our number 1 pick for the most overpaid player in NBA history, Jim McIlvaine. The Seattle Supersonics offered Jim McIlvaine a 7-year, $33.6 million contract in 1996. This angered Seattle fans and their star player Shawn Kemp, who saw this as an undeserved waste of money. Despite the rage, Jim put up impressive numbers in his first 2 years with the team. Unfortunately, the salary cap forced the Supersonics to trade McIlvaine to the New Jersey Nets, where he would play out the rest of his career with injuries and poor performances. How bad was it? Jim retired with an average of 2.7 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 1.71 blocks per game. That's an average of $30,000 per point scored, and most of us have to pay for our shots. Way to go, Jimmy. That concludes our picks for the most overpaid players in NBA history. The list is less embarrassing for the players and more of the franchises that offered the lucrative contracts. The players got the most bang for their buck, so fair play to them. Do any other players come to mind? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more NBA content. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.